So in this particular session, so we'll see about how do you use a group by in your pandas data frame. See, generally when I talk about a group by, what is group by? So let me take this particular data. So I have this particular temperature weather data. Now when I say group by, so here I have this particular data which is based on the city wise temperature has been calculated. Weather data has been calculated based on the city wise. We have a temperature for Bangalore. We have some weather, what is the recordings for Mumbai. We have some weather recordings for Delhi. Now, when you see this particular data, I want to do an analysis. Like I want to know what is the average temperature in India. In that case, so the average of this is going to be the average temperature of India. Fine. Now, I want to know what is the average temperature in Bangalore. Okay, so that means it should be that just nothing but the average of this values. Okay, what is the average wind speed in Bangalore? I want to know what is the highest temperature in Bangalore, what is the lowest temperature in Bangalore. I want to get this kind of analysis. Okay, so in that case, so we'll be using this particular. Okay, so we'll just get into this particular things and we'll look into this. Now, if I have to do a subtotal, that is group by, it's like doing a subtotal. So how do we do a subtotals? I just select this data, I just go to the data, subtotals, and I'll say like, I want to do, what I say, group this data based on the city. That is whenever there is a change, at each change in city, that means whenever there is a change in the city. Okay, so here I'm just selecting this when this particular totaling has to be done. So that means we are telling here whenever there is a change in the city name. Okay, so Bangalore is common. When there is a change in the city name, I want to do some kind of a aggregation on this. So what kind of aggregation you want to do? I want to find the count. No, temperature, I want to find what is the average temperature. Fine. And on what are the fields you want to apply the calculation. So I want to find it on the temperature and the wind speed, not on the event, and just say okay. So you can see the same data has been subdivided, and which says this is the recordings of Bangalore. In Bangalore, the average temperature recorded is 29.16. The average wind speed in Bangalore is 8.16 miles per hour. When you look into this Mumbai, okay, it says the average temperature recorded is 28.3. So Delhi, it is 27.3. Overall average we're able to get. So this is like, we are subdividing the data and trying to see what is a city wise, what is the average temperature, average wind speed. It might be average count or highest temperature, lowest temperature. So we can do this. Now we'll try to do this, but a similar thing. So if I say I want to get the max, so this will tell me what is the highest temperature in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. Okay, so when I say min, this is going to give the min. Now, what is that we will do is we'll just remove everything. Okay, we just get back to the normal. Now we'll try to read this particular data into my pandas data frame, and then we'll try to, the data frame has this particular method called as group by. With the help of the group by, we'll see how do we do this subtotal. Okay. So now first thing is how do we read this particular data into my pandas. So as we know, we have imported this library, import pandas as PD. So that means we are importing the pandas library because the pandas has the methods for reading the CSV file and Excel file and so on. Since that file is a CSV file, I'll just say this pandas.read CSV. I'm just reading that file. So the name of this particular file is what? So weather data by cities. So this is the file that I wanted to read. So I'm just reading this particular file. You can see, so pandas.read CSV, I'm just reading this file. Now, once I read this file, I'm assigning this into my data frame. So now DF becomes a data frame. And then when I print this particular data frame, so I will get this particular output, which is nothing but showing this particular data based on the city wise, the temperature recorded for the city wise. Okay, whatever the data was there in the CSV file. So you can see I'm able to display it in this particular pandas. Now what I want to do in this one is I want to do this particular grouping. Okay, subdividing the data into smaller groups, and then I want to apply the totals on this particular data. So if I have to do this, so that means how you want to do the grouping based on the city wise, I want to do the grouping, and I want to calculate the aggregated data on the temperature for the city, on the wind speed for the city. It might be a maximum or minimum, or it might be average. So first thing is I need to do the grouping column. So for that, since my data frame, I have read this data into the data frame, so I'll just use this. I'll just say data frame dot group by. Okay, so group by is a method of the data frame. I'm just calling this method. So I need to specify on which field you want to do the grouping, say based on the city. That's it. That I have captured into a variable called as G. So G is a variable which contains the group by data. So now if I try to print G, so you can see what happens. G will have only this particular data, like so it says, you can see what is G here. It says pandas.core group by. It's a data generic data, and internally it creates a kind of a frame, the group by frame, just like how we saw in Excel when you do a subtotal. What happens is this particular data is being converted to another, like grouped data, no? So something like when I just say I want to do it based on the city, I want to find the average, fine. So first, what is happening? It is converting this data into a kind of a different layout, grouped layout. So it does this particular conversion. Now, after grouping, okay, something like the city wise is group, and then okay, so then I need to know how do we do the calculations and how you want to display the data. Okay, now we have this G. Now I need to read the individual group. To read the individual group, so I've just written this particular code here. I want to read, see in the group, we have the city, okay, is the group data and my data frame. So we have this particular data frame DF. So I'm just trying to use the data frame called as city DF from the, in the data frame. So I want to read the data based on the city wise. So that is, I want to print the city as well as the city data frame. So that means this group by internally what happens, it creates a layout like this, and it will make this particular new frame called as a city data frame, and group where information is based on the city. Okay, Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. So that means what you're trying to do is we have a Bangalore data, we have Mumbai data, we have Delhi data. So that is going to be my city, and this is my city data frame. So that is going to be my, so it just creates, this is the data frame of Bangalore. This is the data frame of another city. Okay, this is the data frame of another city. Okay, it is dividing it something like this since we have done a group by. Now after doing this, okay, let me have an empty line before this. I just want to drop a line. So now when you look into this one, so you can see this is your grouped data. See, this is my actual data, which I have read from the data frame. And when you see here, this is my grouped data. So it is printing two things here. Print city, it is telling the name of the city, Bangalore. And when I say print city data frame, this has picked the first data frame, first grouped data frame. See, this whole DF is my complete data frame, which has, I have read the complete CSV. After reading that, in that data frames, I have told in this particular data frame, I'm calling a group by and calling introducing, I'm telling group by, it has to be done based on the city column. So that means this particular data is divided into cities, and each cities becomes a different uh, data frames there. Okay, so that information is captured in G. So from this particular G, we are trying to iterate the name of the city and the frame. So that means it creates a separate frames for each city wise. So this is the frame of the city. Okay, what you say, Bangalore. So you can see this is the Bangalore data. So when you go further, this is the Delhi data, and this is the Mumbai data. See, this is data frame dot group by. How you wanted to group? I wanted to group based on the city. It has done the grouping, and after it has done the grouping, internally I said it tries to create a kind of a frame like this, a new what you say, data frame. Okay, for this data. So with the individual, that means it creates this grouped frames.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir.
Okay, This is for the city of Bangalore. This is for another city. So that means how much ever cities are there, it creates so much of data frames. So we are trying to read all the data frames. So since I want to read all the data frames, I'm using the iterations for I'm reading all the groups. So from the group, I'm trying to get the city name, that is the group by column, and the what is it, data frame within this particular group. Okay. Now we have got this particular data, but what I want to do is, see, we have just got this particular data frame. So this is the data of Bangalore. Okay, sorry, Mumbai. This is the data of Delhi. Or this is the data of Bangalore. Fine, we got this and we got the name of the city is fine. But I want to get this aggregated result. Okay, so that means I want to get the aggregated results not for the whole data frame, for the small data frame, that is the grouped sub data frames. So for that, we'll see how do we apply this aggregations on this aggregate function. Okay. Now we have this particular thing here. I want to get the maximum temperature. I want to get the minimum temperature in the each group. So I can just use this. Right. I say group dot mean. Yeah. So you can see here, this is just telling me what is the average temperature in Bangalore, what is average temperature in Delhi and Mumbai. City wise, it is trying to give this particular data. Okay, so it is something like this. I want to see the data. When I say one, it is showing me the overall group. And I say two, it is giving me this. What is the average in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi? So like, when we have a grouped data, this is a grouped data. Now I'm interested in seeing the region wise aggregated data, average temperature. So what I do, I just hit on this two. So it just shows me this particular, what is the average temperature and the wind speed in say Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. Okay. So we are just using this. I just say print G is a group by, okay, dot mean. Mean is going to give me the average, and you can see this is giving me the average for all. This is going to calculate the average temperature for each city wise, okay, and the wind speed also.
Yes.
I have not specified any column, so this by default will be done on the all numerical columns. So when you see here, so when I say G dot mean, so what this particular function is doing, when I say G dot mean, so this is giving me the average for each city wise. So Bangalore, what is the average temperature? Delhi, Mumbai. So, okay, and the wind speed. So I can just say it is equivalent to having the data like this. Is almost the same, 29.1667, 28.333. So this is the average temperature of Bangalore. So this is the average temperature of Mumbai. The average temperature of Bangalore is 29 point this. Delhi is 27. So when you see here, Delhi is Delhi. It has been sorted here. In the pandas, it has been arranged alphabetically, A, B, C, D. Okay. Then this is the temperature for Mumbai. So it's 28.3. Okay. So average temperature of Mumbai is 8. And average temperature for Bangalore is 8.16 similarly. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Yeah. So this is how it is. I'm able to do the average. So you want to find the maximum temperature. We can just say it as max. So this will show me the highest temperature in each cities. Okay. Now what I want to do is, see, when I use the iterations, it is iterating for each grouped data and it has been shown. And we are able to get even the aggregated data. Now I'm interested seeing only in seeing Bangalore's climate. Okay. So I'm interested only in seeing Bangalore's climate or Delhi's climate or thing. You want to filter and you want to get only a particular what I say city's climate. So then case, so we can do it in this way. Fine. It is showing this particular, what they say, the highest temperature in each of this one. Fine. Now I'm interested in seeing only Bangalore's data. So what I will do, I'll just say this. Okay. Can be others, we can just comment it off. We need to do the grouping. So I'm interested in only seeing this. I just say group dot get group. So I want to see only the Bangalore's data. So you can see it is showing only the Bangalore's data. Fine. So you can just say Delhi. So this will show me only Delhi's data. So you want to see only a specific countries or a specific regions or specific group data. So we can call this particular based on the, since we have done the group by based on the city, we need to specify the actual city name. So it will show me the only that particular group data. Each group will be identified with that particular group heading column. Fine. So this is we are able to filter and get only that particular group's data. Okay. Now, if you want to do the various, this one, max, min, okay, where is this one? So we can do this. Okay, we just saw this particular thing. So this will tell me like all the highest temperatures in each city wise. What is the mean average temperature in the each city wise? Yeah. So what is the what is a maximum temperature in the each city wise, as well as what is the average temperature in the each city wise? Okay. Apart from all this, we do also have a describe function. So what is the describe? So we have already seen this in NumPy as well as in the pandas library. So when you use a describe, it gives me a complete statistical information. Statistical information, it will tell me how many observations are there. In that observations, what is the highest temperature, what is the lowest temperature, that is min and max. It also gives me the mean, what is the average temperature. It also gives me the percentile, standard deviation, and everything. So we have this particular g dot describe. We have two numerical column, that is the temperature and the wind speed. It'll do a complete what is a statistical analysis on this numerical column, that is wind speed and the temperature for each city wise. That is in the data frame dot describe. It was just describing the data frame. So this is describing the complete details of this. So when you see g dot describe, it says in Bangalore we had 6 observations. 6 observation means what? Okay, so that means can I just go here 3? Yeah. So that means how many days data is there from where we are trying to derive this average and all this thing. So we have, so 6 days data, 1 2 3 4 5 6 rows. Okay, so 6 observations are there. So in that, what is the mean? The average temperature is 29. Okay, standard deviation between the temperature is 5. What is the minimum, lowest temperature, maximum? There are many fields here, so they've just given dot dot dot. Okay, what is the percentile value at 25%, 50%, 75%? What is the highest? So, and you can see it is showing for each city wise because we are describing on this grouped data. So each city wise, the data is being grouped. On that city wise, it is giving me the complete describe, that the complete statistical information. Okay, fine. This is about your group by. So what exactly a group by does? It works similar to your subtotal functions in your Excel. reads the data and divides the data into smaller groups. Okay, so before I divide the data into the groups, we need to use this data frame dot group by. That means group by is a method of the data frame, and then we say how you want to group. So specify the column which has a more repeated value. That is, we specify the dimension based on which you want to do the grouping of the data. So I have mentioned a city. So now this particular G becomes a grouped data. So now what this group will have is whatever the whole data frame will be divided into small subgroups, which will be based on the city based. And then we just saw like how do we get all this particular individual city wise data into our data frame things. So once we got this, so we can even find out the aggregations, min, max, mean, what do you say, the average, count, and all these things. Yeah. So this is what is that particular. This is a normal data frame, and this is your grouped data frame. Fine. And then we also have this particular functions where you can see the aggregated data and things. And we do also have this describe, which gives me the complete description of this. Okay. This is about your group by. It is very similar to your subtotals. Okay, this is the complete description. This is the aggregated data. So since we have said that I want to do the aggregation of maximum, so it says each city wise maximum temperature and the wind speed. Fine. I think thank you should be done.